Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. So last week I reviewed Fulgrim'S big return novel, Fulgrim the Perfect Son. And today I wanted to discuss what we learned from it in regards to Fulgrim's intentions now he is back. His plans for the future. So it goes without saying here a spoiler warning to begin, as today we will be discussing events from the Warhammer 40k novel Fulgrim the Perfect Son by author Jude Reid. So you have been warned, and with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, now though Fulgrim the Perfect Son was very much a standalone story, its themes and revelations in regards to the Phoenician were very much important for the wider narrative. It most definitely set the stage pretty well. And I just wanted to particularly focus on what we learn of Fulgrim's aims here. We're not going to be diving in and analysing his relationship with his legion or anything like that today. And so here, Fulgrim sends out a summons to his legion, calling them together to meet aboard the vessel the Vexation. And here, Fulgrim wasted no time at all in spelling out the situation to his sons. A time of transformation is at hand, Fulgrim said. He smiled, the radiance in his face shining down on his gene sons, while above his head, the warp shifted and roiled with ever-changing light. My father's Imperium stands on the brink of disaster. Its enemies assail it on all sides. Even now, my brother's crusade falters and fails. Its people cry in desperation for aid, and none will answer them. Does it not then fall to us to be the instrument of their salvation? Tamaris roared his assent without hesitation, one voice amongst hundreds. The Primarch waited for the sound to die before he spoke again. My heart sings as yours do, my sons. That which is rightfully ours is within our grasp. We need only stretch out our hand and pluck the golden apple from the tree to taste its sweetness. For too long we have been denied what is ours. Our legion lost and scattered. Our desires subsumed by the need for base survival. But we are not scavengers. We are not beggars, to scrabble for scraps like dogs in the feasting hall. You carry in your veins the blood of kings, the blood of empires, the blood of a living god. Another roar filled the chamber, this one underscored by a ripple of musical notes picked out on screaming vials and blaring from the lungs of trumpet-mouthed ancients. And you have squandered every one of those gifts. No one moved. The expression of benign amusement was gone from the Primarch's face, replaced by a sneer of contempt. Now, we received teases a few years back of a figure resembling the demon Primarch Fulgrim being sighted on battle zones across the galaxy. But he certainly has played no meaningful part in the wider war. However, here, we see he is not only fully aware of the situation across the galaxy, the Imperium's precarious situation, as you may expect, but indeed Guilliman's Indomitus crusade too. Even now, my brother's crusade falters and fails. Now we don't know at what stage in the timeline this is, if Fulgrim is referring to Guilliman's earlier Indomitus crusade, aka Stage 1, or Guilliman's new stage launching across the Great Rift. But I would assume he's speaking in current terms, which must mean Guilliman's next stage across the Great Rift, because we know that Stage 1 ended essentially very successfully, despite the political pressure that Guilliman endured. And Fulgrim speaks of being the people's salvation, but of course we know exactly what that means. He is a demon-ascended Primarch enslaved to Slaanesh. He's not talking of real salvation here. He's talking of conquering, killing, enslaving the population of humanity. Indeed, considering his pledge to Slaanesh, that arguably promises the worst fate of all the traitor Primarchs out there. And Fulgrim is chiding his legion here, because he has seen each of his brothers achieve their glory, and now he needs to prove himself to them. Not for them, because they couldn't care less, but within his own mind, for his own ego. And there's only one ultimate way to do that, of course. To do something that no other one has done. And that is to successfully conquer the Imperium, their father's empire. The Imperium of Man shall be mine again. Fulgrim stepped forward, the great mantle billowing about him like clouds in a gathering storm. But I will not fight with fools and weaklings. When I return to Terra, it shall be with a conquering army worthy of my glory. Proof that I alone am fit to rebuild the kingdom destroyed by my father's vanity. And to those of you who would be at my side, he waved a languid hand, and a dark and misshapen figure emerged from behind him, standing so close to the Primarch that Morvaise was forced, scowling, to take a step aside. Prove yourselves. So Fulgrim is all in his return to the war, and it is focused entirely and solely on proving he is better than his kin. Pretty much the same thing that fueled him back in the days of the Crusade. And this declaration led us to the main events of the novel. Fulgrim's desire to forge his legion back into an elite fighting force. A legion once again, worthy of the name that they used to hold dear. And you can debate whether or not you think that has transpired by the end of the novel. For me, Fulgrim has still got a long way to go in that regard. Nowhere near to rivaling some of the other traitor legions out there. At least not yet. However, we get a bit more on Fulgrim's apparent rationale a bit later in a private meeting with one of his sons. Fulgrim waved the statement away, as though the truth of it was so self-evident as to be unworthy of notice. It grieves me to see what has become of humanity. The dream of my father's empire was flawed, built upon broken foundations. Had it passed into my hands when he was gone, then it might yet have been made great. But my brothers never saw my vision. They never truly understood. Not even Rabute. He shook his head ruefully. And now this, my father, a rotting effigy bound to an imprisoning throne. My brothers, not content to sabotage my father's dreams, but to corrupt them, to enslave them to their own debased and twisted ideologies. The great brought low, the dream of perfection tainted. Fulgrim straightened his shoulders, the rippling of his cloak haloing him in radiance. But I shall remake the Imperium in my own image. When I sit upon the golden throne in glory, all shall be brought to a greater perfection than ever before. Those citizens who labour in darkness shall be brought forth into a new and transcendent light. Those whose ears have been filled with lies will be granted the revelation of truth, that their God Emperor is dead, and his son and true heir walks amongst them, returned and radiant. And they shall kneel and worship on seeing the true face of their God. So Fulgrim here is speaking of inheriting the rule of the Imperium after the Emperor's death as some form of realistic possibility, which of course it never was. If he's referring to the end of the heresy, well then Fulgrim was never part of the picture. Already fallen to the wrong side, and given a one-sided scolding by Rogel, which sent him scurrying away before the end. And if he's referring to a theoretical one had the Great Crusade been accomplished, well then him as an heir was never a possibility either. For indeed, Fulgrim was made to be the symbol of the Imperium, the Emperor, but he was never made to actually rule it. None of the Primarchs were, and if anyone was, then honestly that would have been Roboute. But again, it's extremely unlikely that the Primarchs were ever meant to exist without the Emperor, as he only came to care for them long after their creation. During the creation process, they were very much just weapons and tools only. And Fulgrim talks as if in loving recollection, but of course he was the first to join Horus's rebellion, to betray his father. So that alone exposes the lies behind his words here. The claims of Roboute corrupting his father's dream, when all along it was Fulgrim himself. It's a sign of that warped pageantry and theatre that Fulgrim's become, stuck within his own twisted view of the universe now. But then, we see that actual goal come out, to remake the Imperium in his own image, to bring it out of the darkness, into the light, to announce the Emperor is dead, but that his son and true heir has re-emerged as a god. Again, this isn't Roboute's dream of bringing light to the darkness, educating the people and restoring the Imperial truth. It is the worship of Slaanesh, and all the debased actions that come with it. Worshipping him, the Phoenician, as a god. So, Fulgrim's intentions and desires are pretty straightforward. To conquer the Imperium, conquer the throne world, and install himself as the ruler of humanity. To bring about a realm of Slaanesh across the galaxy. Let's be honest, it's no different than the aims of, say, Mortarion, only the patron god being different. A realm dedicated to Nurgle rather than Slaanesh. So I really wouldn't get too caught up in Fulgrim's terminology and speech here, as we need to remember this is him post 10,000 years of corruption, immersed in the realm of Slaanesh. He's not seeking to rule the Imperium, as if the realm of humanity would somehow remain. And he was absolutely not intended to be the heir to the Empire. He just is in his own head, and he just wants the same thing as all his traitor brothers. It's just masked in his own image. So it's not earth-shattering revelations here by any stretch of the imagination, but at its core, it very importantly lets us know that Fulgrim is going to be involved in the mainline narrative to come. The important storylines. Not just some little bit part player, but an important foe. Fulgrim is going to be stepping into the spotlight. That he's aware of Guilliman's struggles across the rift, and he's going to be seeking to capitalise on them. And that the throne world is also his ultimate aim, but I doubt we'll see him get there. Anywhere close, in fact. But at least we know what he wants. And I think it's pretty clear now, given those little nods and teases to Roboute, that Fulgrim is going to be showing up somewhere along Guilliman's efforts pretty soon. But as always everyone, what do you think? What were your first impressions from Fulgrim the Perfect Son? And what do you think of Fulgrim's claims about ruling the Imperium? Are his references to Roboute a tease of his intent? Or do you see him attempting something else? And what do you think of his claims of being the heir? Is there any base to the fact? Or is it simply Fulgrim's arrogance and pomposity as usual? That in his mind, of course it had to be him to take over from his father. As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow, and if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.